I'm now at my second rally of the day for Amy Klobuchar, who just got liberated from Washington, sadly because of the no-show trial, the impeachment trial. But it does give her a chance to make a powerful run at the caucuses. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from and what's your name?
I'm Lauren Rice, and I'm from Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
And I'm a professor here in Des Moines. I work at our community college.
And what are you a professor of?
I'm a professor of English and writing.
Well, you know, we have a deficit of writing skills in our country, so you're doing God's work, let me say that. Have you come to a decision yet about your favorite candidate?
I haven't yet. That's why I'm here. My friends are big Amy Klobuchar supporters, so I want to check it out, see what she has to say. I really like her. I'd really like to see a woman in office, but I haven't decided yet, which is why I like the caucuses, because you get to talk to your friends and neighbors and see what they think and, come to a consensus.
Right. It seems like it's a social event as well. Typically, we have the privacy of our voting booth. We go in, make our little quiet decisions.
Yeah, it's a social event, and you have to sort of be honest about your decisions, and you have to own up to them. It's not the Republican caucus, they just vote. It's pretty private. But here you have to say what you think and why you think it, and face your friends and neighbors about it, which I think. It's been a little hectic. The last couple of years, the caucuses have been kind of out of control, so it's hard to have those conversations.
In what way?
The last time I caucused, I was in a huge auditorium. There were tons of Bernie supporters, tons of Hillary supporters, and they were just shouting. And it was just really hard to have a conversation with anyone. I hadn't really come to a decision at that point, so it was just kind of frustrating because you couldn't really talk.
What's interesting to me is that you have the central kind of Northwest liberal sentiment of the upper Midwest. It has sort of a historical precedent going back, but yet Trump carried this state quite convincingly in the general. What's your thought about that?
I don't know. Iowa's it's always been such a purple state. There's always been people from, all sorts of political leanings, but it just seems like we've gone increasingly conservative over the years, and I don't know why. I think a lot of it has to do with the lines are, where the gerrymandering and sort of controlling where people vote. Because you see Des Moines, it's always very liberal, and then everything else is kind of red. So I don't know.
Well, that's typical to the whole country. You have the urban centers that, generally more cosmopolitan and bluish, and then you get out there in the sticks, and it's Trumptopia,
Steve King, nightmare. So it's just kind of embarrassing. Yes.
And you've been here your whole life in Iowa?
I was born in Illinois, but I don't tell people that.
And where did you go to college?
I went to the University of Iowa.
And what's your favorite author that you're reading for English literature or that you're championing in your reading lists?
I'm in love with Peter Heller right now, so if he's out there, Peter, call me.
Okay, so he's alive and living and listening. My favorite author, and I haven't read him in a while, is Somerset Maugham.
Oh, yeah.
He's just the most beautiful stories. He's a master of the short stories and narrative, not precious, great reads, and thoughtful.
He is a fantastic writer.
Well, thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah.
I think she's a great candidate.
Well, I like her, to me, it seems like for someone like Amy, she's kind of on the bubble. If she can't win in the upper Midwest or be in the top tier, I kind of think her prospects are dim after that. She might not be able to survive Iowa if she doesn't show strongly.
I'm afraid you might be right, but she also has been expanding her campaign. So she's been in Nevada. She's been in North Carolina. She's trying to get out there to make people aware of her.
Yeah, I like her. She's got appeal. I just feel like if she can't crack, I always feel like the caucuses here are kind of like the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16. It's a place where people get eliminated, not necessarily where they win.
I agree. There have been a number of good candidates who've had to drop out already.
Right. Famously my senator and Cory Booker, I'd have liked to see. I have a feeling she might be the vice president if Biden, or the nominee for vice president if Biden gets there. I saw Biden today, by the way, in Cedar Rapids, and John Kerry was there for him.
I think I saw it on social media.
Well, Joe's sort of running on what I call the good guy platform. I'm a good guy, you like me, you know me, I can do this, and I can kick this guy's ass. Kind of a macho sort of a take. Not sure I don't know what Amy's, I think you tell me.
She's a moderate, and I think she's running against ultra-progressivism.
But she's likable. People like her. Although she got some kind of, like when she first declared, she got a volley of bad press and about her workers or people that had been on her staff. And I don't know how true that was, but I felt it was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, nor do I. I don't really know what to make of that. I've not seen any of that personally.
Right. At first I confused her with Gillibrand, but now I'm clear. Thanks for the chat.
Sure.
My name's Tanya. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa.
And you've got a choice to make, and are you gonna caucus in this neighborhood? Are you from around here?
I am going to caucus in West Des Moines. Yeah.
And have you made a decision yet?
No. Democrat.
Well, yeah.
No. I like Amy though. She's really good. I like how she talks, what she says. She's smart. She's on top of it. And I kind of like Andrew too.
Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
And have you seen him here?
I saw him downtown, not today, but he was down at the Marriott. I tried to go, but it was overcrowded. Too many people. Couldn't get
Yang's
in.
event.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Today I saw Biden, and the day before I saw Mayor Pete, and now I visited here with Amy, and they all have different qualities. It's kind of like it's a challenging choice you folks have.
Yeah, it is. It is because it's really important.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the overarching concern is who can win, like who can defeat the PVP, the Putin's vice president. That's what I call.
Who can beat Trump and I don't know. Just who can bring our country back to normal?
Right. One of the canards or what people say, we got to bring the country together. To me, that's bullshit. The country's never been together.
Hasn't it been more together than it is now, though? I mean, serious?
Well, we had a civil war where people killed each other by the hundreds of thousands.
I mean, don't you feel like that's what they're trying to do, Trump and his cult of Republican followers, I guess? Aren't they trying to divide us? Divide and conquer? That's how I feel.
Yes, I mean, certainly, I think things are exacerbated now in a way they've never been. But it's not like, I just feel like bringing the country together in some big kumbaya moment is really not what it's about. It's like one group of people have a basic set of ideas of what they think the future should look like, and another group of equally passionate, maybe misinformed people have a set of ideas of what they'd like to do with the country. And I think if one side prevails, they got to go fight for their idea. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to hold hands. It means you have to be civil. That's my thinking.
Well, and I kind of think eventually that's what's going to happen, because really in the end it's not Republican or Democrat. It's, we're all people. We're all people. We all want our earth to be healthy. We all want...
I like my water polluted. I do. And frankly, in my air, I like it with a little sulfur in it. It's just me. I'm funny that way. I like a little industrial scent to my air and the water. I just some carcinogens in there to sweeten it up. I don't know what you think.
Oh, yeah. Go next to the Mississippi, and I'm sure you'll get some of that nuclear waste.
Yeah, a little nuclear waste is always good because it degrades in, 10,000 years? And never does, right. Well... I'm hopeful. Let me 2 questions for you. What are you most fearful about with Amy, and what are you most confident about?
I'm not. I mean, I suppose the only thing would be that she's been in the Senate and she's been around politics for so long. That kind of fear is fearful to me because
you're suspicious of politicians.
Suspicious of everybody anymore. I'm suspicious of our government.
I get it.
Everybody. I don't trust the elections. I think that it's going to be rigged.
Well, if you can cheat in the World Series, you can cheat elections, right?
Well, yeah. Didn't Mueller find that they did infiltrate all 50 states in the election equipment, and nothing's been done? So, yeah, no, I'm very pessimistic.
Well, thanks for chatting with me.
Oh, thank you.
So you're researchers on behalf of Purdue University, and what is the core question that you're trying to shed some light on?
We We are trying to figure out the limits of democracy and where it stands right now because, there obviously is some debate as to whether or not Iowa is the most diverse and representative in the nation, and to see if perhaps the way the caucuses are set up right now poses any limits to people getting their voice heard.
I see. And so how is there a metric that you can do that statistically, or is it just anecdotal evidence? How are you going to kind of come to some kind of conclusion?
Yeah, so I think we're leaning more toward the qualitative rather than quantitative approach, and so trying to do some ethnographic field work where we're by participant observation. So being involved with all these groups of people and trying to be able to see through participation what the excitement is, what the buzz is, what the tone of the room is, and really take that data and try to figure out why.
Well, that's not data. That's something you would qualitatively observe and make sort of an observation.
It is qualitative data, right? And so ethnographic work is very common in anthropology and the social sciences, particularly for us as students and practitioners in political science. It's one of the most common methods. And so we're trying to break what we can all see in polls and what we can all read, because in 2016 the polls didn't have it right. And so we're trying to see what is wrong in the polling and what are the limits to democracy, like Amanda was saying, that we can observe that are maybe having some voters lean one way over another.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows?
Yeah, who the hell knows?
Any preferences for you guys yet?
I don't think we're allowed to say.
Wait, you're a free citizen. You're allowed to have a preference.
Sure.
You're going to vote?
I do. I can. I am leaning more Warren and Sanders.
Are they this? Is that her first? Is it Warren Sanders? Or they've now amalgamated into one person?
It's kind of an amalgamation, either one I support. They have very similar platforms, obviously, but it's just a matter of, at this point, whose personality you like more and who you resonate closer with. But vote blue no matter who,
Vote blue no matter who. Okay, cool. Quickly, you have a preference?
I do, but I'm not going to share.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking.
I'm not particularly hopeful about anybody, really. I'm not feeling terribly optimistic about this entire election cycle. If I had to lean one way or another, Amy is my personal favorite. I don't mind Mayor Pete that much. Joe Biden is fine, I guess. And the progressive wing I'm kind of a little more disconnected with. The Warren Sanders, and I don't find myself terribly absorbed in the romance of that whole thing. So
what about you,
yes.
Rebel Without a Cause? Who's your pick?
Maybe I'm feeling what you're feeling. I feel like they're roughly all in alignment on basic goals and objectives. And we're in such a dire and stressed political moment that I think the overarching issue is who the hell can beat the PVP, Putin's vice president? Who's going to prevail over the PVP? That's the core question, and I think everyone's trying to figure that out.
Absolutely. I think that the most important thing is to get Putin's vice president out of office.
Okay, check out the podcast if you get it.
Being gone for 10 days in 2 days. So we have been everywhere. We've been in Bettendorf, in Sioux City, we've been in Cedar Falls, and now I am here. I am so excited about what we're seeing with the crowds everywhere we go. And I think you can imagine all week I was sitting there, I had a lot of time to think about a few things. I had time to think about why I was running for this office. I had time to think about all of you and how I knew that the people of Iowa would understand that it is important to have a candidate for president that is in the arena, that is pursuing the truth, and is doing her job, and that you would see that as a positive. And then I had time to think about what we were doing. And I said on the debate stage in Des Moines that if our Republican colleagues are going to deny us even the modicum of witnesses and the truth, that they may as well hand the President of the United States a crown and a scepter. Because our country has always been one founded on the laws. That the president is not king in the United States of America. The law is. And for those of my colleagues who voted against simply seeking the truth with witnesses, regardless of how they would have voted on impeachment. I'm telling you right now, the truth is not going to wait to come out for 5 years or 5 months. It's probably going to come out in 5 weeks or 5 days. Because they have refused to allow the President's National Security Advisor to testify under oath, even though he wants to. They have refused to listen to his former Chief of Staff, General Kelly, who said that you've only done half your job. These are Trump people. And when they keep referring to them as your witnesses, I keep thinking, no, they're your men. They are people that worked for you. So that is what's going on in Washington right now. And I actually see it as part of what's going on with this campaign, because I may be the juror in that chamber, but you are the juror in this election. You are the juror in the primary. You are the juror in the general election. That's your job. So while I'm doing my job, you have your job to do. And one thing they have in common is that what we talk about that impeachment hearing is someone who is literally every step of the way puts his private interests, puts his partisan interests in front of the interests of our country. And that is where I will start. Because yes, this election is an economic check.
Amy's breaking it down, policy-wise. And there's a very big crowd here, cameras, cell phones. A bank of photographers and news media are all here to catch Amy, who's surging in Iowa.
Stayed home in 2016. People in those 31 Iowa counties that voted for Barack Obama, some by big margins, and then voted for Donald Trump, 31 counties in your own state. People who voted for independence, people who stayed home, they are watching those debates. And they don't agree with everything that people say on the debate stage. I don't agree with everything that people say on the debate stage. But there is one thing that they all agree on, that we all agree on, or you wouldn't be here in this gym on a Saturday night. That is that the heart of America is so much bigger than the heart of the guy in the White House. Is not just an economic check. The last straw for him was the Boy Scout Jamboree. And he said he had been a Boy Scout, and then I said, oh, my husband was a Boy Scout. In fact, my husband is one of 6 boys. His mom and dad had 4 boys. His mom wanted to have a girl, got pregnant again, and had identical twin boys. And they lived in a trailer court with triple bunk beds. And they were very involved in scouting to the point where 5 of the 6 boys became Eagle Scouts. I don't like to say which one didn't make it because I don't want to embarrass my husband. I told this guy that story, and then he said, well, you know, that was a real important part of my life. And when I saw Donald Trump give that political speech to a bunch of young people at that jamboree, he said, that was it for me. And this tear comes down his face. He said, for me, and he went like this, what I did, it wasn't patriotic for me. Then I was in New Hampshire, long line of people in Conway, New Hampshire, in northern New Hampshire, bunch of people, they have these happy stickers on. I'm a climate change voter. I'm a Supreme Court voter. I'm a reproductive rights voter. And I see this guy in a brown jacket. I said, sir, you don't have on a sticker. And he leans over and he said, yeah, that's because I was a Trump voter. But we don't have a sticker, and I don't want my friends and neighbors to know. They don't know, so don't say anything. And he says, but I'm not doing it again. So, when you look at what happened in 2018 across this country, because I think history matters, look at what happened. These aren't just my stories. We elected a Democratic woman as the governor of Kansas, Laura Kelly. She beat Chris Klobuchar. We elected a Democratic governor in Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. We elected, just in the last few months, re-elected a Democratic governor in Louisiana, elected a Democratic governor in Kentucky. So Mitch McConnell now has a Democratic governor. bringing with us independents and moderate Republicans. If we can win in Louisiana and Kentucky, those red states, yes, we can win in the general election statewide in the state of Iowa. Advice for all of you. We better not screw this up, okay? Because people want to come with us. And so what does that mean? Well, that means, first of all, putting a candidate at the top of the ticket who has the receipts. It is not just talking points, but has brought people with her time and time again. I have brought people with me. That is how we flip the state house in Minnesota, and that is how we will flip it in the state of Iowa. So as we look into that general election, and I know we're in a primary right now. Look, I know that we're in a primary right now. But one of your jobs is to look at how we're going to win in the general. That is your job. And I know we're in the caucuses, and I know we're going through to New Hampshire and all that. But the job of the voters is to figure out, okay, who should we give tickets to? Who should we have go on to the next level? So we can figure out who should lead that ticket. That's what this is about. And so when we do that, we have to think of those general election voters. So this is what I think. When I talk to them, a bunch of them know that Donald Trump is a bully. They know he's a racist. They know he goes after immigrants all the time. They think that's bad, but they also know something else. His dad gave him $413 million over the course of his life. And when things go wrong for him, what does he do? He walks by that helicopter and he whines. That's what he does. We do not need a whiner in the White House. He blames other people. He blames Barack Obama. He blames the head of the Federal Reserve. He blames the city of Baltimore. He blames the entire country of Denmark. Who does that? That is what he does. So I want you to picture me on that debate stage with that guy. And you know, all right? You know that, and you know that I am nimble on my feet. And you know what I am going to say? When he stands there and claims about what he's done, I'm going to look at him and say, you know, the Midwest is not flyover country to me. Those farmers and workers in the middle of country are not poker chips in one of my bankrupt casinos, because I don't own any casinos. They are my friends and my neighbors. And get this. Listen to my bio compared to his. My grandpa, he worked 1,500 feet underground in the mines his whole life. My grandma would pack this lunch bucket for him, and he would go down in that cage every day because he had 9 brothers and sisters. His parents died very early. He was the oldest son, and he had to quit school to support that family. And he did it. His youngest sister had to go to an orphanage in Duluth, and he went and he got her. Then, nice. It's getting kind of hot in here anyway. And I will say this, those mines back then were very dangerous. The whistle would go off and everyone would run. They didn't know who died. Was it going to be their husband, their son? And then finally what happens is the unions come in and they made those mines safer.
Amy's making her case for health care here. And the folks are lapping it up.
People you know not being able to get the help they need, that's it. That's the problem. And that's why I have a plan that also includes mental health. Last thing I'll mention, long-term care. Again, my dad's story, he got long-term care insurance. I don't know why, but he did. That helps him right now. He's in a home with 15 people. He's really happy, but I know exactly when that ends. In fact, I was out emailing people about it during the impeachment hearing, just like people. So that ends in 1.5 years. Then after that, we go into his savings, not as big as we thought, because as John knows, he got married 3 times, but that's a whole other story. And then after that, he goes on Medicaid. And then he has to move, because the place he is doesn't take, we can move to the White House. Yeah. That is how we send Mitch McConnell packing. So I want to come in there with a whole bunch of people behind me, so we can actually shake things up and do things for democracy. And the way you do that is putting someone at the top of the ticket that gets it, that can bring people with them. So that's why I'm asking you to help me today. We have been on a long journey together. It started actually on election night in 2016. You all remember that night. I remember that night because I was out campaigning in Minnesota, giving speeches, and I got home really late, and I got a text from Abigail, who was in college, and she was at Hillary's party in New York at the place. And I had forgotten she was there. And she wrote me this text, and it said this simply, "Mom, what should we do now?" And I wrote this mom guilt thing back, like in 1 minute, because I had forgotten she was there. And it said, the subways are still running. You have to get back. This isn't going well tonight. And remember, you have class tomorrow. That's what I wrote. And then she wrote back, "Mom, I mean our country." So that is the question that we ask ourselves every day since then. What should we do now? And if we answer it with apathy, and we wake up in the morning and we see one of those mean tweets and we put the blanket over our head, then we don't win. We have to answer it with action. I am asking you to run for me. I am asking you to caucus for me and sign those commit to caucus cards. I am asking you to volunteer in those precious 2 days we have left and make calls, maybe not during the Super Bowl, but make calls to people. I am asking you to be leaders in your caucus. If you sign up to be a precinct chair, you get a free green shirt. Woo! Precinct captain. That's what I'm asking you to do, because I believe in my heart. It's not about who has the biggest bank account. It's not about who has the loudest voice. Time and time again, America has proven this. It is about who is that person that when they are done with their work, a guy stands by the side of a railroad track and says, "Yeah, he didn't know me or she didn't know me, but I know her. I know her. And as a president, she knows me." That is what we want. So I'm asking you to join us. Sign up, get your green shirt, and let's go out and let's make history. Let's win!